on. Is it on? Oh, that's it. Okay, thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Goppi Jana Vallabha Giridhara Dhari Jaya Goppi Jana Vallabha Giridhara Dhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Rajana Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare
His Divine Grace, A.C. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai, Nanda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Radha Kunda Shyama Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan ki jai, Ganga Devi ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Maharani ki jai, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to the assembly devotees, all glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila. So today we continue with the reading of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, and today we have verse 29. Bhoktāraṁ yajñā-tapasāṁ sarva-loka-maheśvaram su-hṛdam sarva-bhūtānāṁ ঞतpā śāntim ṛcchati bhoktāraṁ yajñā-tapasāṁ sarva-loka-maheśvaram su-hṛdam sarva-bhūtānāṁ ञtpā śāntim ṛcchati. Tapos. Vaishnavis. Bhoktāraṁ, the beneficiary, yajña of sacrifices, tapasām and penances and austerities, sarva-loka of all planets and the demigods thereof, mahā-īśvaram, the Supreme Lord, su-hṛdam, the benefactor, sarva of all, bhūtānām, the living entities, jñātvā, thus knowing, mam, me, Lord Kṛṣṇa, śāntim, relief from material pangs, ṛcchati, one achieves. Translation: a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, The Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Purport. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Kṛṣṇa is the beneficiary in all human activities. Man should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because he is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6-7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishvaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Kṛṣṇa is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. This 5th chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as karma yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how karma yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga is a path leading to bhakti yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute, and the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya, illusion, due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life, even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial toward anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above-mentioned passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage of Brahma Nirvana. The eightfold yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 5th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of karma yoga, or action in Krishna consciousness. Mama Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarva-loka-maheśvaram Parijana Sahitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Kṛṣṇa Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Kṛṣṇa Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchanga Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Kṛṣṇa Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak about this most amazing verse, and I would also like to request the blessings of the assembled Vaishnavas, especially all those who are senior to me, so that I can say something appropriate, inspiring, and encouraging for everyone. Thank you. In this world, everyone is looking for peace. Everyone wants to be peaceful, but unfortunately, the majority of people, 99.99%, are not peaceful. And why are they not peaceful? Because they don't know the peace formula. And actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is one very, very wonderful verse which is giving the essence of why is somebody full of anxiety or fear. This is the verse that actually gives the definition. And the first line goes, Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshatah syat. Bhayam means fear, and dvitiya means something other, or something other than Kṛṣṇa. And the translation goes that fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. So this is so prominent in the material world. Like we know there are 4 basic principles of material life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And actually defending refers to fear. Everybody is trying to defend himself because of fear. So fear and anxiety is the aspect of material existence that nobody can escape. And for a devotee, it is different. And how it is different for a devotee? It is different because I will go through all these 3 points that are described in this verse. So the first point says that Kṛṣṇa is the enjoyer. He is the only enjoyer of all the austerities and all the activities that we perform. He is the only proprietor of everything, and he is the friend of all living entities, the greatest friend of all living entities. So the example is given. This is a material example, but we can then also extend it on the spiritual platform. If there is a man, a young man, who has a father who is very rich, and his father is, of course, is favorable towards him, then he feels very safe and very peaceful on his father's estate. So wherever he goes on his estate, he's protected, he's peaceful, he feels so comfortable. So in the same way, if we, especially as practicing devotees, really truly accept within our heart that Kṛṣṇa is our greatest friend, then there is no cause for fear. Because Kṛṣṇa is the proprietor of everything. He has everything under his control. So what can possibly happen to us? Nothing. Because our best friend has always our best interest in his mind. So he's always caring for us, he's always protecting us. But this really happens only when we are surrendered to Kṛṣṇa. When we really wholeheartedly accept his shelter, then we can immediately start feeling Kṛṣṇa's protection, and we can start feel peaceful, very peaceful and very protected. But the moment, if we get that thought that there is something that is outside of Kṛṣṇa's control, like for example this corona crisis, which was bothering even us, many of the devotees were completely in anxiety because of this great threat. So if we think that there is something like this virus or something outside of Kṛṣṇa's control, then we are full of fear. Then we are immediately full of anxiety. This creates this dvitiya, the foreign atmosphere of uncertainty and fear. What will happen? What will happen? Kṛṣṇa doesn't have control over this, or some demons will come. And then we are fearful. So how do we practice this in our life as practicing devotees? Because these instructions in Bhagavad Gita are very practical. This is not meant just to be studied theoretically and learned by heart, but it is really meant to apply in our daily life. So to apply in our daily life means that we see in all the circumstances in our life, in whatever happens in our life, that we meditate on Kṛṣṇa's hand, how Kṛṣṇa is arranging things in our life, everything that happens. And sometimes things may be very favorable and pleasant, but many times things may become difficult and even painful. And at that time we are especially put under a test. Do we really trust Kṛṣṇa? Do we really consider him our best friend? So if we maintain our faith that Kṛṣṇa is the absolute good, he is our supreme friend, so regardless of how the external circumstances are happening, whether they are good or bad, Kṛṣṇa is absolute good. So at the end of this circumstance, there must be something good for me. And this is why Kṛṣṇa allows this to happen to me. Nothing bad can happen to us at any time if Kṛṣṇa does not allow this. So if he allows that some pain or suffering comes into our life, then it is only because he knows that this is good for us. Sometimes it is to detach us, most of the times, because we are so attached to this material world and material enjoyment. And sometimes it is also to purify different anarthas that we have. So a devotee who sees in a humble way all things in his life as Krishna's arrangement can remain peaceful, because even in difficult circumstances, he is protected by Krishna, because Krishna is guiding him. He is guiding him somewhere. Krishna has some plan. So this was his first point. The second point that I would like to speak about is how Krishna is the beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. So Krishna is the enjoyer. Krishna is the real enjoyer, and Krishna is the only enjoyer. And this is something, this is something that, do you hear me? Yeah? Yes. So now it's better because before it was too much. This is something that is very difficult for us, for most of us, because as in this purport Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains, we have all come here to this world because we wanted to enjoy. We wanted to enjoy matter. We wanted to enjoy this material energy. We wanted to become the enjoyer, to take Krishna's position. And this becomes very difficult. But in this verse, Krishna is teaching us that actually, if we can internalize, if we can realize that he is the only enjoyer, then we can actually become peaceful, and then we can actually become happy and really enjoy. Because the only way that we can be happy and that we can enjoy is to make Krishna happy, to serve Krishna and please him. So we can be happy through Krishna's happiness, through Krishna's enjoyment. This is the only way that we can do it. In this entire chapter, there was this gradual development of becoming detached from the enjoyment in this material world. Even though we are practicing devotional service, we still may have this attachment to enjoy the material objects, to enjoy through our senses. Yehi samsparshna jabuga dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kantaya nateshu ramate vilaha. We may still be trying to take pleasure in the objects of the senses which are actually the causes of misery. But the wise men, they don't take delight in these sources of misery. Where do they take delight? In Krishna. Because in the Taittiriya Upanishad, we can actually learn that Krishna is raso vai saha. Krishna is the source of all pleasure. Krishna is the source of all rasas. And Krishna is supremely sweet. And he is the source of pleasure. But we can actually taste this pleasure only in one way. And this is through serving him, through service attitude. And this is something very, very amazing. I would like to share a few verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, because we may think we are just ordinary living entities, jiva-tattva. We are small, tiny, infinitesimal parts and parcels of Krishna. So yes, our position is that we are subordinate to Kṛṣṇa, so we have to serve him. But the most amazing thing is that this principle of serving Kṛṣṇa and in this way enjoying pleasure and happiness is the same also for the Vishnu-tattva, for the personalities of Godhead, for Krishna's expansions. For them, the same principles exist. They enjoy life by serving him. And I would like to share, this is so inspiring. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 6, and verses I begin from 44. The conception of servitude to Sri Kṛṣṇa generates such an ocean of joy in the soul that even the joy of oneness with the Absolute, if multiplied 10 million times, could not compare to a drop of it. This is Sri Advaita Acharya speaking. And then he says, Nityananda and I are servants of Lord Chaitanya. We are servants of Lord Chaitanya. Nowhere else is there such joy as that which is tasted in this emotion of servitude. The most beloved goddess of fortune resides on the chest of Sri Kṛṣṇa, yet she too, earnestly praying, begs for the joy of service at his feet. All the associates of Lord Kṛṣṇa, such as Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Shuka, and Sanatana Kumara, are very pleased in the sentiment of servitude. Shri Nityananda, the wandering mendicant, is the foremost of all the associates of Lord Chaitanya. He became mad in the ecstasy of service to Lord Chaitanya. Of course, we know Lord Chaitanya is not different from Lord Kṛṣṇa. Shrivas, Haridas, Ramadas, Gadadhar, Murari, Mukunda, Chandrasekhar, and Vakreshwar are all glorious and are all learned scholars, but the sentiment of servitude to Lord Chaitanya makes them mad in ecstasy. So, just a little bit of inspiration how this attitude of service is actually the way how we can be happy, how we can really enjoy. So the next point is the point sarva-loka-maheśvaram. Kṛṣṇa is the proprietor of everything, of all the worlds, of all the planets, of all the demigods. And this is a very, very important point for us. The issue of proprietorship. Because when we are here in this world, we are trying to possess things. Because how can we enjoy them otherwise? We have to possess so that we can enjoy. So we are very, very attached to get, to possess different things. And this is a very, very deep problem in our heart. This desire to possess and then of course also enjoy. In the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, it is dealt with in the third canto. Third canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam is actually especially dealing with this gross desire to enjoy this material world and to try to have this attitude of proprietorship, especially towards the material nature, towards this material world. Maybe just some little possession, like a little house, or a car, or some real estate, or even more, like the whole country, or different people try to possess on different levels. And that attitude is technically actually explained to be a scientific mentality. We are not all science. However, in every one of us, this mentality is there. And as I will be explaining it, you will recognize. Because what do the scientists do? They are doing their research, and one of the basic premises of their research is that the material energy, now it's getting better, thank you, that the material energy is independent. There is no God who would be behind or who would control the material energy. The material energy, the material world is independent. So if the material world, material energy is independent, then it is available for us to exploit and to enjoy. So this is the basic premises of the scientific mentality, and we all have this in our hearts. We all have. Because we consider this world to be meant for our enjoyment. And in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can hear again and again about the creation. It actually starts already in the second canto, but especially in the third canto, of the creation of this material world. And when we study step by step the creation of this material world, we can see that at every single step the Lord is involved. Nothing can happen without His involvement. He is fully involved and He is fully in control. The material energy is His energy. Mama Maya Duratyaya. It is His divine energy. It's not unprotected. We cannot just exploit it and enjoy it. And I would actually like to share, I have enough time, I would like to share two stories which from the third canto, which actually give very interesting examples of proper attitude and improper attitude regarding the enjoyment in this material world. So it is meant for those of us who are not yet completely pure, and still have some desires to enjoy this material world. And these are the stories of two couples. First story is story of Kashyapa Muni and Diti. And this story actually shows in a very, very clear way what happens when we try to just enjoy independently, just disregarding that the Lord is in control, that He is the controller, the enjoyer, the proprietor. So I will just tell the story in a very short way. So Diti, she wanted to enjoy her family life, and she wanted to have a son. So she practically seduced her husband Kashyapa at inappropriate time, but he also willingly then cooperated with her. So they conceived children, but what was really the end result? What kind of children did they get? They got two greatest demons. They got Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So this was the result of this mentality of I want to enjoy now in the way I want, disregarding the Lord, disregarding the rules. So just enjoying life. And then the second story is story about Kardama Muni and Devahuti. So also Kardama Muni and Devahuti wanted to enjoy family life, both of them. But they did it in an appropriate way. They performed sacrifice. So this is the way, as the Lord says. He is the beneficiary. One should perform the sacrifice. So Kṛṣṇa Muni was performing austerities and sacrifice in devotional service, and Devahuti was assisting him completely selflessly for many years, for a very long time. And what was the result here? They got both. After some time, Kṛṣṇa Muni, he achieved the highest perfection, love of God. And yet, he also gave her the material enjoyment that she desired. So he created that spaceship, the flying spaceship. And they were enjoying material family life and had many children. And the final child that they had was the Lord himself, Kapila Muni. He appeared as their child. And at the end, also Devahuti achieved the highest perfection of love of God. So these are two parallel stories that show us very clearly what is the result if we take these instructions of the Lord and apply them in our life. To not just try to enjoy independently, exploit this material nature, but to perform sacrifice, trying to please the Lord, and then He will also allow us material enjoyment if we want. And at the same time, we will also achieve the spiritual success. Okay, so this. So then, I would also like to speak a little bit about. Here is one portion of the purport that really stands out for me. So I would like to speak it a little more about this. Srila Prabhupada here says, the more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial towards anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. So here we can see, this is a portion of the purport that for me it's extremely inspiring, and I have been meditating a lot on this, because Srila Prabhupada is here speaking in a very practical way, again. So we may not be completely realized in these principles that are explained here, that the Lord is the supreme enjoyer, that He is the supreme controller, and that He is the supreme friend. We may understand some things theoretically, and we may have some realization, some experience, but still a lot of material attachment. However, there is a way which helps us that we can gain more of the realization of all these truths. And this is what Srila Prabhupada is speaking here. He says that the Lord is not partial towards anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So what are our duties in Kṛṣṇa consciousness? Very, very simple duties we have, and actually we could say that the main foundation of our spiritual life is our early morning sadhana, our morning program. Our early rising, and then chanting, the prayers that we recite and sing, and then of course also Srimad Bhagavatam class and reading. This is very simple, and yet at the same time, many times we become neglectful. Maybe we have been practicing Kṛṣṇa consciousness for many years, 10, 15, 20, 25, or less, But we may think, okay, I don't have to be so strict anymore. I have been before, but now I don't have to. But it is not like that. There is no time when we can just become lack in our devotional practice. This basis of early morning sadhana, it's so powerful that in itself, it brings us at least to the mode of goodness. It brings our consciousness at least to the mode of goodness for that day. Or even if we have been really focused, even higher to the transcendental platform. And then we have the strength. Then we have the spiritual strength to resist the desire. Because material desire may still be there in the heart. We have the spiritual strength to resist also the anger. If the desire is not satisfied, then the anger comes in the heart. But we have the strength. When we are in the mode of goodness, we can tolerate. If we are not in the mode of goodness, then we become very agitated and disturbed and angry. But in the mode of goodness, we can tolerate. And in this way, we can slowly but steadily progress and deepen our realization more and more with each day. So I will stop here. If there is any discussion, perhaps any question, any comment, any correction, anyone would like to add something? Senior devotees. Yes, Mataji. Children, yes. Yes, yes.
Or somebody may be working at night, and somebody may be quite ill, so they cannot get up and chant their arms nicely, and then they go on for a long time. So what can be done in that situation?
Okay, let's see if I have heard you properly. So you explained the situation in which, this is mothers especially?
Especially mothers.
With small children, and they cannot sleep at night because the baby is waking up, and then she's tired, she cannot get up early, she cannot have the morning program, right?
Yeah. Our kids, she has to get up early and get them ready for school.
Yes.
And not just for mothers, or somebody may be working at night shift, or somebody may be just, sick and they cannot get up and do
yes, yes.
It happens a lot in life.
Yes, it happens a lot of life. Material energy is presenting many obstacles, many obstacles. So there are different situations, like the situation of mother with young children. It's a really difficult one because there is really not much that she can do. If she has a small baby, she really has to take care of the baby. So that is to be expected that at that time her sadhana will suffer, like morning sadhana for sure. But then she can try to make it up during the day. And that's just what she can do at that time. But for other situations that you mentioned, like for example, somebody has a night shift and things like that. So this is different. Like it is really, when we have our life, when we are performing our spiritual duties and material duties, it is really important to think regarding the material duties. how it will affect my spiritual duties. How it will affect my spiritual duties. So there may be an option to have a day shift instead of night shift. At least a devotee should really try to avoid night shift, if at all possible. So most of the times there is some other way. If there is no other way, there is no other way. But most of the times there is other way. And then another thing, very, very important. And again, this is not like my, just my statements. But Grihastha ashrama, which is especially the ashrama in which we have a lot of contact with the material energy, with the material life. It is especially important also what we do in the evening. Because there is no question of having early morning sadhana, proper morning program, if we don't go to bed early. And we know that especially nowadays, life starts in the evening. All enjoyment is there in the evening. So as the rest of the society goes in this direction of ignorance and tamas, we are also pulled to stay up late. And yes, we do, we take care of the family members, we have to be with them, we have to associate, we are reading. However, these are just the excuses. It is really important to just make it very strict to go to bed early. Because if we go to bed early, we will be able to get up early. And then we will catch this early morning time of Brahma Muhurta, which is so essential for our spiritual practice. It cannot be replaced with any other time of the day. So it's so crucially important that it is worth that we really arrange our schedule, our life in such a way that we can do this, that we can go to bed early so that we can get up early. So, is this any help? Thank you for nice question, Mataji. Okay, so I guess we will end here. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Śrīmad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.